Mariana, I am very tempted to keep adding questions here and make this a 10 episode series because I've been learning so much. And as you know, I'm a big Broadway musical fan. So I'm loving this. I really am. But as we approach our third and last conversation about Hamilton and the lessons we can learn about first-gen students or college students, our question today is looking at Hamilton himself and the characteristics, the first-gen characteristics that he shows up in his work ethics and leadership style. What do we see?
So I really hear in this question, like, let's talk about Alexander Hamilton's first-gen energy. Because, just quickly going back to that opening number, one of the lyrics is, inside he was longing for something to be a part of. The brother was ready to beg, steal, borrow, or barter. So he lands in the colonies like elbows up, right? Like he's ready. He's ready to take it on. He ain't going to take no for an answer. And that intensity is something that tends to follow first gens. So looking at one of my favorite songs of the show, My Shot. I don't know if that's one of your favorites as well. But in that song, Hamilton sings, the problem is I got a lot of brains, but no polish. I got to holler just to be heard. With every word, I drop knowledge. I'm a diamond in the rough, a shiny piece of coal, trying to reach my goal. And I think sometimes that intensity and drive and focus can read as off-putting to people. It may come off as a bit aggressive. And what I would like people to realize is that with first-generation professionals, every decision can seem very high stakes because we're carrying the weight of expectations that are bigger than our own. It's not just us that's forging a path forward. It's like we're representing, our ancestors, our communities. It can feel like this is something that doesn't begin and end with us. It sets a new standard for, our families going forward. So we also know that we have to prove more that we're capable and competent. And there tends to be that unrelenting sense that there's so much riding on everything that it can lead to an over-reliance on external validation.
Yeah.
So I think some of this, for Hamilton at least, but for a lot of first-gen professionals, in that first episode that you and I spoke, we talked about like Hamilton had a lot of childhood trauma. And trauma experienced early can develop what's known as a scarcity mindset. So I heard this quote once from a therapist on social media, but it really resonated with me that, the difference for some who aren't first generation professional, aren't coming from that perspective, may, have or experience challenges coming up in their professional careers. And the fear may be, I may not fulfill my parents' expectations here. Where as a first generation professional, the thinking is more along the lines often, not always, but for many of us, it's, I might not survive this moment in history if I don't get it right. So Hamilton carried this intensity through everything he did, including his leadership style. Another leitmotif in the show is his sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Why do you write like you're running out of time? Why do you talk like you're running out of time? That sense of urgency fueled everything from his perfectionism, his enthusiasm, his determination. When I see the show, I'm often reminded of this saying that is tossed around a lot in New Orleans, Louisiana, which I had a home there for 7 years. What they say is, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. And I feel like Hamilton really took that attitude to heart.
I agree. He could easily have been the one saying
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. And, I think one of the interesting things that Lin-Manuel has pointed out is that, we see certain artists today kind of echoing that first gen energy that he tried to capture for Hamilton in the show. One of the ones that he identified was Eminem. Lin-Manuel believes that Hamilton would have loved Eminem. And I see it. I do, because they both came from poor beginnings. They're both prolific writers with a fierce command of language. Both were operating from a scarcity mindset. And each one of them propelled themselves into fame and renown through the influence of their words. So, we hear Hamilton in the musical say, see, I'd never thought I'd live past 20. Where I come from, some
Yeah.
get half as many. For the first time, I'm
Mm.
thinking past tomorrow. I am not throwing away my shot.
Yeah.
So, context wise, 226 years later, we had them rapping, Mom, I love you, but the trailer's got to go. I cannot grow old and sail in black. So here goes my shot. Feet fail me not. This may be
Yep.
the only opportunity that I got. That first gen energy comes through loud and clear.
Yeah.
So two iconic first gens, spaced 226 years apart.
Unbelievable, right? Wow. Depending on someone's beliefs, they probably would say that Hamilton came back.
Maybe, right? The tenacity spirit would be consistent with what there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I find fascinating is this conversation with you is making me want to go back and watch everything Lin-Manuel Miranda has produced so far, because I'm seeing so many In the Heights references there.
Absolutely.
With those Navi and the lady wanting to leave that neighborhood and go into the city, and it's funny because what I think I love the most about In the Heights is that, and here's a spoiler, I hope you already watched it because it's unmissable. But and when I say you, I don't mean you, Mariana, because I believe you did. I mean those listening to us. Is that after looking for joy and believing that joy was somewhere else, in Osnavi's case, back in the Dominican Republic, he then realizes that his place is right there, right where he was. That's a powerful message that movie sends me, and a message that deeply resonates. And leads to a question to you, which is, we'll get to the call to action for leaders in a second. But I'd be curious, because I believe that a lot of the leaders listening to us are also parents, or at least they have some influence over the life of people who are in early stages of their lives, right? So how can we help first generation professionals navigate this transition into the work life, and navigate the work life as a whole with less trauma? I mean, do you think there is anything that we can do when coming across kids that look like us or come from places similar to ours to help them not make the same mistakes we might have made? As a first gen myself, I can tell you it's interesting because I've seen people, thank God not my parents, but I've seen parents saying, I've had to go through these hardships and it brought me here. So it's just fair that my kid does the same so they can grow stronger. Is there another way, in your opinion?
I feel like we could do a whole other series on just, how to kind of navigate the familial part of this as well as the professional part, because first gens can find themselves between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, many times, myself included, my family was supportive. My parents wanted me to go places they had never gone. They wanted me to do things that they'd never had the opportunity to do. And, with their very, very limited means, they did their best to try and position me for that. However, I think that there's also this flip side that a lot of first gens experience, which is there's almost a resentment that starts to form from the family. Like they see that there is, let's call it what it is, there's class migration happening. They see their sons and daughters kind of moving away from working class and into, upper middle class or higher. And they, sometimes feel very threatened by that. And they start to wonder, are we going to see things the same way anymore? Are you going to forget where you came from? Are you going to start to think that you're better than us? And, I think that there's a lot wrapped up in there that's probably too much to unpack right now. But this can leave first gens feeling like there's really there's no kind of safe way to go about this. Because there's still a lot of, I think, scrutiny and stigma around first gens in the professional environment. I think more people tend to cloak the fact that they came from a working class background because of fear of marginalization or ridicule. So one thing that I would love to see just kind of in general is to start breaking down that construct and start to really kind of celebrate a first gen identity, because it's something to really be proud of. So I would say for both first gens and also people who lead first gens, if it's okay to maybe pair
Yeah,
together,
please.
is, if you're a leader, first of all, consider that first gen doesn't have an age limit. You just said you're a first gen professional. So am I. We've been in our careers for decades. You never stop being a first gen because with each promotion, each new accomplishment, each milestone, you're the first one to do it.
Yeah.
So, it's always going to feel like you're breaking new ground and new territory, especially if nobody else in your family has gone down the same path. So, I would say, for leaders, if possible, pair up first gen professionals with other first gen pro mentors who can provide encouragement, support, practical guidance. And an effective mentor is someone who has firsthand knowledge of the career path their mentee is on. So ideally, it's somebody who is in already the lane that first gen also wants to see themselves in.
Yeah.
They're the ones best equipped to recognize, an employee's talent, both tapped and untapped, and teach them how to succeed in that particular field or industry through the first gen perspective. I think there's so much opportunity for that kind of mentorship. And first gen professionals, if they don't have that accessible to them, I think it's really important to start to find other first gen pros and build that community so that you have that resource of support.
That's amazing, Mariana. Thank you for being with me for 3 episodes. I learned so much from you. I always learn so much from you. And I learned so much from everything that you post on the internet. So I would love for people to kind of be left with a path to you. If you don't mind me asking, how can people stay in touch? How can people stay informed about what you're doing?
Sure. Well, you can reach out to me personally through my website, which is www.culturalcompasscoaching.com. I have, an email form in there if you'd like to learn more about my work or, if there's anything that you're interested, any of the services that you're interested in. The other thing that you can do is go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel, Cultural Compass Coaching and Consulting. My handle there is First Gen Mary Coaches.
Oh, wow. I love it. I love it. Mariana, thank you. Thank you so, so, so much for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and your expertise with us. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for inviting me, Miguel. This was delightful. And if you want to do another series on In the Heights, call me.
All right. I sure will. I will take you up on that. Folks, nothing left to say, but thank you. Thank you for listening. Take care and talk soon.